So, welcome, beautiful light beams, to the Soul Led Spirit Driven podcast. And we are continuing our journey, our conversation around money, energy of money, and how we can accumulate abundance, wealth, but also change maybe negative stories around money. And my guest, as I mentioned today, is Melanie Huestis. And she was on the podcast before. But Mel, can you please share with my audience again, like who you are and what you do and why I think you are a perfect person to speak to around money?
Oh, thank you for having me so much. Love being here. So I am an energy alchemist. I currently work with people on turning the lead in their life into gold. But the reason why I feel that this is a really good conversation for us to have is I have the energy experience, but I also worked for over a decade in finance. So when I was working at the bank, I was everything from a teller, a personal banker. I worked in business banking. I was in charge of operations at one point, literally controlling the flow of physical money in and out of the bank. And when I left, I was about to move into the stock market and trading. So I have this really practical experience with accumulating wealth. And now that I work as an energy alchemist for over a decade, I've got a really different perspective on it with all of the energetics.
Oh, I can't wait to dive into this because just before we hit record, I revealed to Melanie that I'm one of these people who doesn't like to be told you have to, skip that daily coffee out or save money here or save a few cents there. But you have a very interesting take on it because obviously of your background, but also in terms of what you're doing now. So I can't wait actually to dive into this so you can, so we can explore both the practical and the energetics of it. But before we go there, Melanie, can you please share with my audience has your money story changed from when you worked at the bank to doing what you're doing now? Was it worse? Was it better? Has it changed? What can you share about that?
It has absolutely changed, but I don't think the shift was from the bank to now. It was from childhood to now. And to say it's better now would be an absolute understatement because when I shifted my beliefs and my money mindset, I showed up differently to money. I showed up differently to my life. And that is when true abundance was able to flow in. It wasn't just money. Like there's a difference between monetary money and the energetics of abundance. And my goal is to call in abundance in all forms, not just monetary. So when I was a little kid, both of my parents worked very hard and were very successful at jobs that they hated. And they would always say to me, well, you have to do a job you don't like if you want to have lots of money. And that was constantly, instilled in me. Work hard, make money. Doesn't matter if you enjoy it. Doesn't matter if you're happy, just make the money. And so when I started my career coming out of university, it was about how do I make the money? Right. And I got into finance. I mean, you can't find a better job for money. Right. And I worked in jobs that I hated. I was sexualized in horrible ways. It is a real boys' club working in that industry. At least it was back when I did. This was almost 20 years ago now. There was a lot that I put up with, that I pushed down, that I stifled within myself because I wanted to make money. And when I realized that that was not even my belief system, that was a story that I had adopted from my parents: make money, be unhappy, or be blissful and be broke. And I decided at a certain point that I wanted both. I wasn't willing to settle. I wanted to show up to do a job that lit my soul on fire and become incredibly abundant while doing that.
So you realized that, and then what did you do to change your beliefs around money?
So that was a long process. I'm not going to say just, snap your fingers and everything will shift. It can seem like that sometimes, but there's actually three things that I feel are essential in order to call in the abundance you're looking for. But even more importantly, is to hold the abundance that you've called in. So we see this a lot in, I'm not going to say just in the spiritual circles, but across the board, where someone will, gain incredible success in their business and then it shuts down. Someone will win the lottery and then they end up bankrupt. And the reason is because it's actually, I don't want to say easy because it's not easy for everyone, but it isn't that complicated to call money in. But if we don't have a grounded relationship with money, a stable platform from which to receive it and then create more and keep receiving, it just dissolves and we lose it. And that's what I tend to see more often with my clients, is not the inability to create wealth, but the inability to hold it.
And that I'm very familiar with this because back in the day when I worked with coaches, that I was immersed in a coaching environment, you would every now and then see a coach resurface after a few months absence saying that, I worked with a money energetics coach or whatever, and I acquired all this wealth, but no one taught me how to hold the money. And so they lost it. And see, I personally think, it's one thing to create a positive story around money, and maybe even as you're acquiring more and more of it, you probably need someone who actually understands the practical side, that someone like me is like, oh, I don't want to know about this, right? Thank God my husband is really good at this, and we have this agreement. He pays the bills because otherwise we would be homeless, like if I was in charge. But I do believe that in those cases, then you do need someone that can give you that, or give you this insight, like this is what your money is doing, or this is what you should, because I don't know whether someone who can, but an NLP or hypnotherapist who's not a qualified bookkeeper, accountant, doesn't understand this aside from keeping his own money, whether they can genuinely help you to invest smart, or hear some tactics, and so I think that is why we're so lucky that we have you here today, because you can kind of share a little bit about both, right? The energetic work that you do, but also the knowledge, the experience that you have from working in a very practical environment where money, tangible money, was dealt with.
Yeah.
So going from that, okay, so you were you I guess I'm interested in your process of how you changed the way you handle deals, see money. Is that was it a lot of inner work first? Was it also perhaps doing the practical side first? What was that?
So I don't know that it really matters in what order you go, because in my belief, abundance, living abundantly, is a cycle. And if we get into the flow of money, right, we don't want to just get money and hold it. That's stagnancy. That's going to make the universe say, oh, they don't need any more money, right? So we want to receive and then we want to spend. We want to receive and want to spend. So it's creating this cycle. And the three parts to it that I think are really important is the first one is clearing, and that's the energetic work. And I like to use an analogy of a tree. So if you want, let's say you want apples really, really badly, that's your abundance. You want lots of apples. So you don't just take an apple seed and throw it in the backyard and then go, okay, manifesting apples, which is what I was taught to do initially, right? In the spiritual world, just think about the apples, call them in. But there's more to it than that. So the clearing part is creating fertile soil so that you can create that abundance that you want in a way that is sustainable. So doing your money mindset, right? Like we were talking about just a minute ago. What are your money stories? Are they true for you anymore? Clearing past lives. Maybe you've taken a vow of poverty, and no matter what you do in this life, you won't be able to overcome that until it's cleared. It could be a soul contract. It could be ancestral trauma where generations after generations have some type of benefit from being poor or from mismanaging money. And that just gets passed on again until you cut that off. So it's doing all of the energy work to make sure that you are clear and you are ready to receive. That's the first step.
So that's interesting, your analogy about apples, because as you were saying this, I was thinking, right, someone like me, if I had money stories or this belief that I don't have a green thumb, every plant becomes suicidal around me, I'm not actually even going to attempt to plant that apple, right? Because I'm not even going to go there because I'm like, well, I hold this belief that I kill all living plants. So this is never going to work for me, right? So I guess that belief, you either got to fake it till you make it, or you got to somehow move it aside to even put that seed in. And then, yes, do the energetics and, like you said, we can't pray and stuff, but we actually have to water it. We actually have to, like, maybe pin that little green thing spread as it comes out. You got to maybe pin it to keep it straight, right? Protect it from bugs. So you still have to do the actions, right? That which often people think that is obsolete, and you don't have to. You just sit on the couch and wait because you've done a vision board or you've written it 10 times down, and that is not true. But you've touched on something really interesting. Past lives, karmic cycles, all sorts of vows, which I'm familiar with, but I would love for you to say, because obviously that's also what you do. Yeah. So if someone has a, let's say, negative money story, or they don't have money, they always go from month to month, they don't seem to be able to hold on to money, but they don't know whether this is something they've been taught in this lifetime or whether it is something from a previous lifetime, and they come to you. Yes.
Okay.
So as they come to you, do they need to know already, Mel, I've got this problem, I feel like I've got a past life vow, or can you untangle it for them?
I actually work better with less information. And I don't know if this is true for you, but if a client comes to me and says, I need help on A, B, C, and D, I am more than willing to help them on those 4 things. But I work with guides, and I work with energy, and I work with the physical body, and I work with other realms. And as all of these different layers of information and energy come forward, 9 times out of 10, the list of things that client comes to me with is not where we need to start. Right? Because everything has an underlying energy. There are layers to healing. And so if I have someone, actually just this afternoon, brand new client showed up, never had energy healing before. And I said, how can I support you? And he said, I'm open to anything. Like that is to me, that's the best, because
you love that.
Yes. Oh my God, it's my favorite, because then what you need in that moment is not being controlled. It's not being guided. It's just exactly what is true is allowed to come forward, rather than us being controlled by our egos, by the checks we want to, kind of mark off. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Less
I love
is
that.
more. To me, less is more.
I love
Yeah.
that. I mean, I love this is a side note. We're going off the topic a little bit, but I love this. Um as we do. I always say the least information I don't follow people that are, especially a new someone that has just, booked in or whatever. I don't want to know anything. Don't tell me any background story. Don't send me any questions till we're in the session. So I love that. But I have to admit, Mel, when someone says in my group or anywhere, oh, just see what comes through for me, I actually go like, oh my God, where do I go? Like there could be work, there could be family, there could be, like, and again, if I don't know, I could go like I feel like I'm in a dark room and I'm trying to find a switch. I'm like, I just need some guidance, like which direction do you want me to go to? But I love that. I've never thought of it the way you've described it. That sounds amazing.
Well, it opens up all possibilities.
Yeah.
And again, I know we do very, very similar work, but we come around it in different ways. But basically, when you whittle everything away, the work that I do is healing core wounding. And if you have a core wound from this life, another life, your ancestors, childhood, whatever, that is going to show up in your money stories, in your relationships, in your physical health. It's all connected. So I don't worry about, is it this, is it this, is it this? Because I know it's all going to come back to the same place. And when you heal that, then it all shifts.
Yeah, it's like you pull a string and things just
Yeah.
like a domino effect. I love that.
Yeah.
So to bring us back to today's topic of money,
Sorry.
no, I love it. This is what I say always, we go intuitively into this and this, it was fascinating for me to hear what you had to say about this not knowing and stuff, because yeah, I always kind of go like, oh, I feel like 1 hour isn't going to be enough if I'm like in the dark room. Um, but what I would love to know is, because you have a specific way of working this whole energy of money, and I would
Mm-hmm.
love to hear more about that, because um, I had a big learning curve around not seeing money necessarily as just this physical thing. And you've touched on that it's abundance. And the more I started leaning into abundance and seeing abundance, everything kind of started aligning and shifting, because my focus went from opening my wallet, oh, I've got this much money, which is a lot or not a lot, and judging
Yep.
it, to just really feeling that energy and feeling that flow. But I understand that some of my listeners may not be there yet. So we would love to know what your work process is that you've mentioned.
Sure. So we talked about the first step, which is creating a clear vessel, a clear foundation. And that also, just one other thing to say on that before I share the second one, is it's not just energy work. If your house is cluttered and there's no flow in your house, that is stagnation, which will block the flow of money. If your physical body is not well, right? If you're not taking care of your body, that will block the flow of money. So when I say to clear everything, to prep that soil, I really mean everything that you can, right? So then the second part of the process is, once you have, and again, you don't even have to wait. You can do all of these things at the same time because it is a cycle. But then you want to work on creating that abundance. And what I have found is that typically people focus too much on money, right? It's money, money, money. I want to make, 6 figures in my business. I want to have 500 clients. It's all numbers, right? Which is it's very tight. It's very constricted again, because we're focusing in on one little thing. And if we go back to the tree analogy, so the creation process is, now you've got the soil, we're going to create the roots, we're going to grow the trunk, the branches, and the leaves. And if you have, let's say again, money is the apple, and let's say you're holding an apple in your hand, you're like, oh, I love apples, I want more apples. And so you just, focus on the apple, apples, 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 apples. That apple's going to rot in your hand and you're not going to have anything left to show for it, because you're pinpointing all of your energy on that one thing, which is typically money, right? But if we can expand again out of that monetary and into that energetic abundance, that's already everywhere around you. So you don't have to focus in. You actually want to expand. So you don't want to just think about money. You want to think about abundance. And the best thing I can suggest to create more abundance in your life is to envision yourself with everything you want, all the abundance, all the money, all the boats, all the mansions, all the lovers, if you want a bunch of those, right? All of the chocolate, all of whatever it is. For me, it's herbs in my backyard. And envision yourself immersed in exactly what you want. How do you feel? And for someone, it's going to be, I feel really safe. For someone, it's going to feel, I feel really happy. Maybe it's, I feel really excited for more. But when you can kind of hone that down into that vibrational frequency of what you want to feel, that becomes your calling card. And again, that calling card, that emotion is going to be different for every single person. So if we're all focusing on money, 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 it's going to work for some, but it's not going to work for the vast majority of people. So let's say when I envision my abundant life and I feel safe and secure, that's why a lot of people want more money, right? Less worry, less stress, more safety. So then what I want to do is I want to bring it back to the now, because we can't create in the future. We can't create in the past. We can only create abundance in this present moment. So right now, what can I give to myself that brings me the feeling of safety and security? So we're not focusing on money, but I guarantee you that is going to call money into you. Does that make
Oh,
sense?
yes, I have questions. I have a million questions, but okay, I'm going to go with this one first.
Okay.
So you mentioned herbs. You would see yourself with your herbs in your garden, and that
Yes.
is your idea of abundance, right? But let's say someone's listening and going, "Yeah, but Melanie, I actually just need money. I need X amount money." So for
Yep.
that visualization, it was saying, should they then envision truckloads of money, like you envision your herbs, or
Yes.
does it have to be abundance that is abundance, not tied up to the money? Because I understand the process that you said towards them, but right
Yep.
now they're going through the steps and they're like, yeah, that's nice money, herbs, but I actually need money. Should
So
I
great.
envision them?
So envision yourself sitting in stacks and stacks and stacks of money. So you're rolling in it naked, like just, slathering yourself in $100 bills. I know, right? If that's your jam,
Like the
go there.
rolling in whatever.
And I will tell you, previous to doing this work, that would have been my fantasy too. Okay. But everything changes when you change your view on money. But let's say that's where you are. Fantastic. There's no shame. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think in the spiritual community, oftentimes we get the message that money is bad, that wanting to be rich is bad, that wanting the big house, the fancy car is bad. It's not. It's neutral. All of it is neutral. So whatever it is that lights you up, you picture that. So while you're sitting in all of the piles of money, what are you feeling? You're still going to come back to that core wound that needs to be healed, that emotion that you need to give yourself in the now. How you envision that end game doesn't matter. It's connecting to the emotion when you are there.
I love that, because that would surely rub on a few edges that you might have around it. And you know what's really interesting? Last night, uh, I I ran my in-person Earth School sessions, and I have this beautiful group, and they're all older people, as in like 60 plus, right? And they are at a point in their life where they're not necessarily thinking, oh, I need to change jobs, I need to get more money. They're actually at a point where they want to feel more vibrant, or they want to have a better golf streak, like when they're playing golf, or they just want to travel with their family, see their grandchildren. And so this session that I ran was actually, ironically, yesterday around learning how to co-create from inside, and it I had to say to them, it is so interesting to me where they are in terms of like what they're trying to call in to, let's say, my clients who are a little bit younger, still, having families and worrying about money perhaps coming in, going, and they haven't healed maybe something. It was so interesting because everything that you were saying, they were visualizing, the fields of flowers or like this unlimited golf range where they can play and instead of like
Yeah.
pots of money. And I actually, for my examples, when I was giving them examples, I was giving them money because I'm like, everyone understands money, everyone has money issues. And then here is this beautiful group of people, they're like, I never worry about money. I just want to not feel like, I've got a broken back when I'm getting up. I want to be able to
Yeah.
chase my grandchildren. I want to have, whatever, hole in one or something. And so it was really, really mind blowing. But I mean, I understand that and I understand what you mean because the ego might want the money, but really, what do we really want? We want the freedom, maybe. We want the flexibility. We want time with family, maybe. We want safety, right? We want to feel safe, especially, watching the news and stuff. So I love that process. So then we get to the part of seeing the abundance,
Mhm.
feeling into the abundance. Is there more?
I mean, there's always more, but that is the gist of it. So, again, let's say we go back to the safety being something that you actually want lots of money to create, right? So, there is the reality that we need money to pay the bills and we need money to feed our kids and put a roof over our heads. And I'm not making light of that aspect, quite the opposite. But when you don't have the money to make you feel safe, what do you have to make you feel safe? Right. So it could be something as simple as having a ritual before you go to bed, tucking yourself in, checking that everything is good in the house so that you can sleep more peacefully. It could be having tea with a friend where you can just let it all hang out and be vulnerable, but that feels safe to you. It doesn't have to be about the money. In fact, I would encourage it not to be about the money. And the more ways that you can call safety in, like asking for what you want in your relationship, right? Getting therapy if you need it. And you create safety or whatever vibration it is that you want into your everyday life. The universe is like, oh, she wants more of that. Let me bring it in. And since we know that the dream is all of the stacks of money, the universe is going to bring in more money for you to feel safe. And
And if you
again,
can't, oh, sorry, yes.
I was just going to say that's such an intangible spiritual, a lot of people would say almost bullshit thing to say, if we're being honest, right? I've been in places where I did not have money. And I know me back then would have been like, whatever, like you're full of crap. I don't buy any of this. But I know what it's like to be on the other side of it. And you have to work through that. You will get to the other side. And I do have practical tips as well. But I just wanted to say that.
I love that. Yes, I will invite you to share them in a minute as well if you have anything that you can share with us. But actually, you have oh my gosh, Mel, as always, I want to go into two directions. We are going to talk about spiritual people and money because you've touched on that, and that was something I really wanted to speak to you about since we're both in it. But before we go there, maybe can you share with me, because I'm very curious to know, having this practical experience of like, seeing money, seeing the numbers, crunching the numbers, maybe seeing the money going in and out, um, and then working with energies like the way you do. Um, do you bring that experience somehow along into the sessions at some point when your clients are there? Because let's say you get someone like me who goes, I'm dragging my feet. I do not want to skip a coffee. And by the way, I'm not that much of a coffee drinker, but coffee seems to be the symbolic thing, like save
It
the
is.
$5, which at the
Yeah.
moment I could understand when it was like $3 or whatever, but at the moment in Australia, you can't get a good coffee under $5. So that becomes a very big spend at the end of the week, right? But something like that, I don't want to give it up. I don't want to. I love it. That makes me feel expanded. What would you say to a terrible toddler like myself?
Oh, so I would say that's the third step, which is cultivate. You've cleared the soil. You have started to, create the abundance through growing the tree. And then cultivating is like picking that apple and then growing more. Right. And so with that, going back to the coffee and buying the coffees, it feels like it's a punishment almost, right? Short term. And I get it. And I've been there. But if we are not looking for a quick financial fix, and if we are truly ready to lean into this flow and this cycle of ever or never ending abundance, we have to create priorities, right? And anything that is not a top priority, we need to save for. We need to wait for. And there is this message that we have received in society that that's a bad thing, that I want it all and I want it now. And this person has it all and success looks like this. And I think that's completely a disservice, because what is wrong with waiting? What is wrong with saving? What is wrong with creating a budget? You want safety and security? Create a budget. You know how much money you have, how much is coming in, how much you have to spend. And when you do this, and even going back to, you mentioned about opening your wallet and looking at the cash, nobody uses cash anymore. You just swipe your card. Well, guess what? You're not thinking about your money every time you tap your card. But if you have to go for the coffee, which here, $8 for a decent coffee around here. So you go and you open your wallet and you want the coffee and you see you have $30 left. You're really going to evaluate how much you want that coffee. And then you're going to decide, is it worth a third of the money I have left? Or is there something more important to me? So when we create a budget that is aligned, what we're actually giving ourselves is clarity into what is important to us. And when you really get clear on what matters, letting go of that coffee every day to achieve your goals, it doesn't seem like a punishment anymore. It's actually quite exciting, to me at least.
Love that. So what would you say though to someone who would come to you and say, I actually can't hold off and wait. Like if I want something, I want it now. Like I can't stop thinking about it. And I don't know how to break this. I don't know what is even happening to me, but if I see something, I want it. I want it now, and I have to spend the money.
Well, the simple question that I would ask is, how's that working for you?
Well, it's not working, but I don't know what
Right?
to do.
I know.
It's not
So
working.
that is something that is really challenging to put one response on. Because like I was saying earlier, for some person, it might be that in childhood, they were denied the affection that they truly craved. And so now they're trying to fill that void by buying the coffee, buying the new outfit, going on the trip, because that fulfills their sense of love and of being seen and of being witnessed. And that's how they create that within themselves. For someone else, for myself, I took a vow of poverty in a past life. And every time I would try to grow my abundance, there would be guilt and there would be shame. And I didn't know why. It's because I had vowed to God that I would not take any money. And so I had to clear that. And for someone else, it could be something as simple as no one sat down and shown them how to do it differently. So that's all that they know. Like each individual person is going to have a different answer for that.
And so even though they don't know the answer, that if they came to you, because I know I opened the Akashic records, but if they came to you, they would be able to, you would be able to get the answer for them.
Typically, yes. I don't like to ever say 100% because it depends on how open the person is. It depends if it is in their best interest to learn that. The way I work is really specific about show me the information that will help this person today, not 10 years from now. Do you know what I mean? So,
Mm-hmm.
but usually, yes.
Mm-hmm. That's fascinating. Sorry, Mel. I keep cutting you
No, don't apologize. This is what
off.
happens when we're excited to talk to each
Yeah,
other.
I know.
But
Oh,
there are lots
love
of things you can do. Like, again, creating a budget is so important and really overlooked. Pay off your debt. You are spending 3, 5, 20 times the amount that you actually paid for an item if you're carrying a credit card balance. Move into gratitude. That's one that is so simple for any of us to do. Anytime I receive, and again, not money, abundance, thank you and more, please. Right. And then I say abundance and not money because can I share a quick story that happened to me a
Absolutely.
while ago? So my husband was driving on the freeway and his car started to slow down and it wouldn't accelerate and was making all of these horrible noises. And it turned out that the whole engine died and he needed to get a new engine put in his car. And I don't have the money for a brand new car sitting around in cash. And I don't have debt. I don't want debt. So I'm like, well, crap. What are we going to do about this? And so I just went to my guides, looked up, and I said, okay, bring me a solution. I didn't start to figure out how much money was a new car going to be. Where could I find that money? How could I get a loan? Would I take money off of my line of credit? I didn't go into panic mode and again, constrict and start to control money. I went to abundance, show me solutions. Solutions are abundance, right? The next day, my husband was told that there was a recall on his car and that they had extended the warranty to 10 years. His car was 11 years old. They still extended the warranty to him. So he got a brand new engine, everything replaced absolutely for free.
Wow.
Now, if I was focused on money, 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 there would be no room for that solution of abundance to be brought forward.
This was a beautiful story to share because whether we're talking about money, whether we're talking about calling in anything, whether it's passing a test, getting that job, anything, there is a moment where we go like, I don't know what to do, or I don't know what direction to go. And I see this so often where people then try to figure it out. I've seen this happen in my life, in my clients. They're like, sitting there and like brainstorming and doing these pros and cons and trying to really hard, which is a constricting and putting resistance on a path. And so many times I say, you just gotta let go, give it to them, hand it over, and just say, I actually don't know. I'm free, I'm open,
Yes.
energy is open, and then the way the solution comes, your human mind that works in a limited pattern could have never ever given you that solution, right? Like, would you have
Exactly.
thought, okay, well, in all the things, the way I think the money will come in, this will be one of the options? You probably wouldn't have even
Never.
conceived that.
I mean, it
Wow.
shouldn't have logically happened. It was past even the extended warranty, right? And the thing is that trying to fix something is the energy of scarcity.
Mm.
Trying is like failing. Don't
Mm.
try to be abundant, be abundant. Maybe
Yes.
not in the way that you're expecting, maybe not in the way that you want it to be, 5, 10 years from now. But there is no person on this planet that cannot be fully abundant in every single situation. And it's not your job to figure out the rest. It's your job to get in the energy to ask for what you want. And then, like you said, get out of the way, let them bring it to you in miraculous ways.
I love it because this brings me to this other topic of lottery winners. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if you ever had this, but ever since I came out of the spiritual closet, I have every now and then people going like, they want the Tatslido numbers and they want to win, because, if you tell me if you can tell the future, which I never say I can, but somehow that's connected to psychics. So
Yeah.
I can win Tatslido. But we hear so many times of people who win big and then within a year they're broke. Right. And then there's this lady whose name I think you may have heard about her, Cynthia Stafford. And in, I think it was now 2004, 2003, she decided, so this interview, I watched this interview recently. She decided she wants to win the lottery.
Right.
And she was applying all these manifesting techniques. She was doing it consistently for 3 years. And she won the
Yeah.
exact sum that she was trying to manifest. But in this interview, what I got out of it was that, first of all, she was consistent, not just for a day, not for a month, not like after half a year going like, well, when is it going to happen? She did it for 3 years. She was consistent. She was very specific. And what really blew me away was she says, it was the whole process of her becoming a person that can
Mhm.
hold the money that took the 3 years. And I think this is what is paramount for us to understand, because I often get asked, like, how long do I have to do this for? How long do I have to imagine this for, or visualize this, or clean my house, or, do the practices? And the
Yeah.
thing is, as long as it takes for you to become the person that can have this desire, right? Because it's about becoming, it's not about acquiring and having it. Because so many times we want something, we get it, whether it's money, whether it's a gift, whether it's the partner, and it's not what we wanted, or it's not fulfilling, or it doesn't make us happy. And so this lady took 3 years of manifesting, and obviously that was changing who she became in the end to hold the money. And she, if I remember correctly, actually manifested a win that was exactly what she was visualizing. It's
I
crazy.
love that. It's amazing. The thing that comes forward for me listening to that, though, is you're saying how people are saying, how long is it going to take? And, working and working, working, and then you may not like it when you get it. But that's why it's so important to give it to yourself now, to give the experience, the vibration, the energy to
Yeah.
yourself now, because then you're not waiting. You're not wasting time. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what the final outcome is because you are giving yourself what you need in every single moment. And I'm
Yeah.
going to be really honest with you. I wanted to be rich, like most people, for so long. And I was working on it and I was growing my income in leaps and bounds. I was well on my way to my financial goal. And I realized I wasn't happy. I was drained. I was tired. I wasn't prioritizing what mattered in my life. And that's another thing that was a huge shift for me. That's why I don't picture myself in the piles of money anymore. Money is useless to me if I'm not healthy, if I don't feel good, if I don't have time with my family. Now, I'm not saying that someone whose money is their number one priority is wrong. You're not, but that's just for me. And now you chuckle about me meditating in my herb garden, but I literally did last week a visualization with a group, and we envisioned ourselves in our perfect future. And it was me outside in my garden, all of the herbs, all of the bounty, all of the abundance, and 9 grandchildren. Like,
Oh,
talk about abundance. I
yeah.
was in nature, surrounded by babies. Like, I mean, that is bliss to me. I don't
Yeah.
care if I have $10 in my bank account on that day or if I have 10 million.
Yeah.
That's what I want in my life. And because that is a more authentic dream for me, it doesn't look like what I'm supposed to want out of life, right? All the check marks to be successful in business, toss that shit out. Now, because that's what I'm aligned with and that's what I'm creating every day, it comes faster and it comes in bigger ways and more beautiful ways because it is authentic and aligned, not something I am told I need to make this much in my business to be successful. I need to have this big of a house. I need to have whatever it is that your checklist is. When you
I
get to
love
the truth,
this.
right? When you get to the truth of what you want, the money becomes, I don't want it, well, yeah, it becomes an afterthought to abundance. And that's when it seems to just slip into your life without you even noticing.
I love this because all of us are at different levels of soul's evolution. So some of us are literally like these kids that are in going to Toys R Us for the first time. They're like, oh my God, there's this toy. I want to play with this. I want to play with this. They're here to experience all the materialistic things and stuff. And some of us have been coming here maybe for a bit longer. And so we don't I don't know, need or value the material things as much as perhaps experiences or the emotions. And I always say there isn't like a better or a worse or, I'm higher, you're lower, whatever. It's just the experience we want here. So if someone, desires cars, mansions, bags, that is absolutely fine. That's exactly where you are, right? And I hope everyone who wants all this stuff gets everything they want, because at that point, when you get everything you want, you will start to realize, I think, it's about the deeper things. It's about the herb garden, the, experiences, the, times with family, the babies. And it's not, again, one is better than the other. It's just a deeper understanding that this is the physical representation, but
Right.
really what you want is that. And I have actually um, a little story. Well, a little story. We decided, like, my husband's really good. He's never had like loans aside from the mortgage or whatever. He never was one to get credit cards or anything. And so we kind of decided a couple of years ago, we don't want to have mortgage. We're going to, get rid of that as well. We never buy cars on loan as well. We just get a car that we can pay for. And so we had a few people around us say, oh, so you're downsizing. Oh, things must be bad, and, financially, because you're downsizing and moving out of big city and stuff. And for a moment, to be honest with you, Melanie, for a moment, I did have this feeling like, oh my God, I am going backwards, I'm not moving forward. But having done my work and perhaps being also away from the noise and being able to kind of come back to me and what is important to me, which was always experiences and time and freedom rather than the items, I have actually realized that I have created so much expansion because of that, that I actually am not downsizing. I feel more abundant than I have ever. And it was actually a few days ago, I was at my in-laws and visiting with the family. And I was just sitting in their backyard and I was just thinking, oh my God, right now in this moment, I am the most abundant person, the most abundant I've ever been. I feel like I've got everything I ever wanted. This is like this moment, this in a movie, this would be the climax. Like I've got everything, right?
Mm.
And I go like, this is what it feels like. Like, yeah, I have everything. I have nothing to worry about. And I hope that we all get to that point, where we just feel life is good. There's always
Yes.
things that could be bad. We could always be healthy and stuff, but life is actually amazing when you don't have the fears, the worries, when you don't anticipate, worry what's going to happen. I know my children are safe, they're happy, and we are just abundant, not downsizing.
Well, I love that. And I agree. I've had a similar experience. We often think that more is better, but sometimes more equals more stress, right? We worked really hard to buy a big house in the best neighborhood in our city. And we were so proud to be there. And we were so far in debt, but we didn't care because that was the dream. That was the vision at the time. And at one point, well, this is when I was a stay-at-home mom, so I wasn't making any money, and my husband lost his job. So we had absolutely no income. And we had to sell our house and move into a neighborhood I had never even heard of before, into this little teeny tiny bungalow. And we said, it's okay. We're just going to, take care of our finances. We're going to get things in order. We'll start creating wealth and we'll get the bigger house again. And that is where I still live. And I could easily afford that
Oh,
other house, But what we discovered is very similar to what you were sharing, that there was less house to worry about. There was less of an image to upkeep. And we learned to do more with less, and that created space. So less stuff created more space for joy, for connection, for play, right? When you're stressed out about paying the bills and taking care of all of the things, you're not going to feel like you want to go and play and have fun and just kick back. And so we decided very quickly that this is where we were going to stay. And I am so truly grateful and know it was a gift that my husband lost his job, because that's the kick in the ass we needed to recalibrate our priorities.
And I love that you take regular sabbaticals from social media to enjoy your family, to enjoy time away, because that's what is so important, right? Like just being able to spend time with loved ones. And I've had this year 2 dear loved ones pass away suddenly. And it really, like, in that moment, you really get that higher perspective on life, where I thought I really didn't care about materialistic things and I just want to be close to my family. But now, after going through these 2 deaths, I am even more, deliberate with my boundaries and where I spread my energy and where I create more abundance, more time, more love with my loved ones, with people that I care about. And it's just, I mean, not that I don't wish anyone to get to that point to realize more, but it's like you said, sometimes we need a little kick in the bum that in the moment feels like, oh my God, the whole world is collapsing, right? Losing a job and being forced to change your lifestyle. But then this beautiful way of living came through for you, right? Out of it.
Yeah.
So
And I'm
good.
sorry for your losses.
Thank you, beautiful Melanie. Yeah, and I think, I mean, I always say the bittersweet, I think, thing about us who work with spirit world in here is that we miss the person, miss the physical contact, miss the hugs, but we also know and feel and sense that they're not gone, they're still here, right? So it's just that, yeah, dealing with that. Thank you very much. On that note, can we have a bit of a conversation around spiritual people and earning money? Because there still seems to be a bit of a stigma around this is a gift and you should give it away. You shouldn't be charging for it. You shouldn't be charging that much for it. What do you have to say about that?
I feel like that is such an individual decision, for sure. But overall, I feel like saying that we shouldn't charge for our gift is saying that, a scientist shouldn't be rewarded for the work that they're doing in the lab, or a doctor shouldn't be paid for doing surgery in the operating room, or a teacher shouldn't be paid for, lighting up kids' lives. Each and every one of us have a unique gift, and the goal, our mission, I believe, in life is to find where joy and work intercept. Like, I'm not about, again, earning money. I'm about calling in abundance. And when you can work with someone in any profession where they are so excited to show up and share with you, you are going to get so much more out of that experience than working with someone who doesn't value their time, doesn't think that that pleasure is worth a monetary value, and does things for free. And again, I'd love to share just a little story around that, if it's okay. But when I first started healing professionally, I've been connected and talking to spirit literally my entire life, but I started doing it professionally 12 years ago. And I thought, well, I want to build an audience. I want to get clients, and I would offer free sessions. And not once did I have someone show up for a free session. Not once. I don't even showed up and didn't like it. No one showed up. And I would give away free sessions for people to raffle off or in contests. And it just never worked. And I'm like, okay, guys, like what's going on? They're like, you're not valuing what you're putting out into the world. And if you aren't valuing what you're putting out into the world, no one else is going to value it. So if you want someone to value you, therefore valuing themselves by paying more to work with you, the healing is going to be exponentially greater. That connection is going to be clearer because everyone who comes to the table values what is going on. And money is just an energy.
Yes. Yes.
Right? So we put a number because we have to pick a number. We put a number on the energetic exchange and what feels good to us. And the people who are meant to work with you are going to be attracted to that specific energetic exchange. Right? And I just raised my rates again in September. So I guess that's this month, earlier this month. And I raised them by 25%. It wasn't a small hike. And I was a little nervous thinking, oh, are people going to complain? Are people still going to book? I have not heard one single, not even a complaint, a mention of it. No one's even said, hey, I noticed you raised your rates. They just keep booking in because they value what I bring to the table.
Yes. Oh, such a good point.
But that starts with me valuing what I bring to the table, which
That is
goes back
such a
to,
yeah.
sorry, I was just going to say, it goes back to this cycle of abundance, right? We have to clear the vessel, clear out my beliefs that I'm not worth that money, clear out the belief system of society that healers should do this for free. Clear that vessel, create the abundance, and then cultivate that, right? With the gratitude practices and the budget and all of those things. It all feeds into the cycle.
I'm signing my name under everything you've said because I agree 100%. And yes, you know, I have had similar experiences where I don't do like official scholarships or anything for staff or, you know, but, you know, if someone was struggling, I have, you know, gifted them, let's say, session or you know, time in Boxer, whatever it is. And I do have to say there's a tiny percentage like when someone is really, really like appreciating, and I don't mean it grateful to me, but just appreciating that, okay, someone has given me a raft I can hold on to, right? And I can pull myself out. But most of the time, my experience has been the same where people don't show up. And it's like, unless there is money on the table where that energetic exchange has happened, where I mean business, here's my money, I mean business, I really need this, or I really want to do this. It's like we put this into a drawer of like things that will come back to because it's there, you know, it's available. I've got the replay or whatever, so I'm going to come back to it. Never come back to it, right? We never come back to it because I feel like what happens is, you know, when you were putting, let's say, those sessions into raffles, or, you know, and someone won, or you were gifting someone a session, that energy is really potent in that session, not you recording it and giving it to them and then they put it away and never watch it, right? Like that is wasted energy and it is a wasted opportunity. And I just really feel that when someone, and it's hard to say because I often say, you know, you're welcome to use this space, or I'm happy to gift you this session. But from my own experience, people show up better for themselves when they actually put some sort of money on the table. And I have done in the past where I'm playing with some new energies, right? And I feel like I genuinely just want to have a container of people that I can test this on, you know, that are happy, that are open to do it. When there was absolutely zero money exchange, because I'm like, you're doing me a favor, you know, I just want to play. I want to have this playground where I can do stuff and there's no expectations. people wouldn't follow through with the stuff. They wouldn't show up, for the session. So I didn't get what I needed to get out of this container. And what I thought would be a safe playground for me to play with no expectations actually wasn't, because I
Yeah.
couldn't see the results, because people are, because it didn't mean much to them, or they didn't have the time in the end, or whatever it was. Whereas if there was a tiny little symbolic even exchange of money where you have to overcome that barrier as well and really mean like, I really want to be in there, here's my money,
Mm-hmm.
magic happened. Magic happened.
Yes.
So
And I think it comes back to that wallet example. When you are really focused on the amount of money that you are going to be spending, you go into your priority list. So is a session with Kasha or is a session with Melanie worth the money I have to spend? And if you just get it for free, it's not a priority. But I have clients who will literally save up for months to book a session to work with me. And I don't give discount. I mean, I'm not saying I never do. Of course I do. But in general, I don't give discounts for two specific reasons. The first one is that person is so invested. If you're saving up for months to work with me, the magic that is going to happen in that session will blow both of our minds. Not because of what I'm bringing to the table, because of what they are bringing, the commitment, knowing they're worth it, making themselves a priority in their lives. Spirit's going to come up and show up for that, right? And the second thing is that I believe they can do it without a discount. I trust that they have the capabilities within themselves to find the way to make it happen. And I don't want to sell anyone short or say like, oh, well, I feel really bad. Let me give this to you. I'm not saying that all gifts come with that energy. They do not, but some gifts do. And the energy that I was putting into my free things at the beginning was like, oh, excuse me, I want a client. Oh, I want a client so bad. Please come and work with me. Please come and, lay on my table. And then you can tell everybody how awesome I am. It was desperate. Right. So it's not just about being free. It's about the energy that comes with that. And when we put money towards things that are priorities, that are important to us, incredible things happen.
Oh, you're changing already just by saving up for a session with Melanie. I
You
love that.
are. And oftentimes I will hear that the healing shifts start before they meet with me.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's the same thing I feel. I have a friend who really loves Louis Vuitton bags,
Mm-hmm.
but she's not a serial buyer, but she will save up. Like I mean, she has no, she's got a husband now, but they have no kids. So it's not like, those huge responsibilities where it's like food for the kids, shoes for the kids, or bag. But she loves them so much. But what she loves is, she goes like, I'm gonna save up for this bag, even though she has the money in her cash. She's like, I'm gonna save it up. So it could be like the leftover coins or whatever. And she's like, I'm gonna save it up. And then she tells me usually the whole process. Like, let's say when she was in Paris or here, at a Chatston shop, the process of getting the bag, like, it's a whole thing. It's not like
It's
going to,
abundant.
yeah, it's not like going to, I guess, your Walmart or a Kmart and just grabbing one of the many of the hooks, and going to the register. It's a whole
Yeah.
process, and it means so much to her. But also the way she saves up for it, which reminded me of her when you were saying about your clients. Something already happens to you when you are like, okay, this is what I want. I want this session with Melanie. I know that this is going to be, for me. I'm going to save up for it, or I'm going to put money aside, or I'm going to get it next month, as opposed to just waiting for these bargains, or going perhaps somewhere
Right.
else that has it cheaper, right? Like, and not to say that that's less worthy, but if you, like you said, have that goal, that priority, something already starts to happen to you. And this is where I want to say to all my spiritual listeners who are in this arena, gone are the days of one person is special with special gifts and all the rest are minions. And so that person with the gift is either going to have to live off donations because they have this amazing gift, or they will squash everyone else down because they are the ones who have the gift. Gone are those days. That paradigm of one special person is gone. We all have gifts. We all have the psychic gift, and we all have our other gifts, but we're not all here to be psychics. We're not all here to be tarot readers. We're not all here to be doctors. Whatever your gift is, whatever arena you're in, if you don't value yourself, like Melanie said, no one else is going to value your work, and they're not going to value themselves enough to, save up or pay for this session, or perhaps, believe that they are worthy of this session, this gift, this whatever it is. So please don't shrink, don't downsize yourself, believing that just because you have the gift of mediumship or tarot or healing, that you need to live off donations. It is an individual decision, yes, but I did want to say that because it's so important to me that we don't put spiritual people into this category of has to live off donations. Now,
Yeah,
yes,
I'll just shake my head.
no,
Yeah, it's not
no.
something that I align with, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, abundance, but we still, have bills to pay in this physical world. We still have we need children need to be fed. We still all have it. It doesn't matter what you do, you have those physical challenges to meet in this world. That's how we play here. It's like Monopoly, right? We have to do these things, and how we choose to create this money is then shouldn't dictate whether we get a lot or get little, whether we should give away our services and our gifts or get money for it. On that note, Melanie, you said you have some practices. Is there anything that you want to share? Anything that I haven't asked you?
Let me see one thing I do want to share, not that it's a question, but there's nothing wrong with the bag. Right? Like there's nothing wrong with the fancy, like we're talking about coming down to, less is more in those advanced spiritual practices, and all of that is lovely, but I still enjoy a good bag, right? Like we don't want to think that that is negative or unspiritual. I've been talking a lot about this lately, but let's take the Louis Vuitton bag. And if you save and enjoy the process and honor it and take care of it and just are so happy when you're using that bag, that is sacred. That is just as sacred as me and my herb garden, or, anyone in any one of their dreams. There is no want or desire around money that is bad.
That's a big takeaway from this session. I feel like I have a session with you right now, but I mean episode. I think that's a beautiful takeaway, that it doesn't matter what you desire. Your desire is not less valuable or important than my desire, Melanie's desire. It doesn't matter whether you are going for big mansions, 10 cars, or a herb garden, right? That is filled with lots of delicious herbs. This is your own individual human experience. We're creating our own individual human experience. And if we could pull together all these tips, all these learnings for you to create that and be truly happy and feel abundant, amazing, our job is done.
Agreed.
Yes. On that note, over to you, Melanie. Anything I should have asked that I didn't? Any tips, anything that you want to share?
Yeah, again, I don't think there's anything that you should have asked, but I'm just going to reiterate that if you want to stay in this flow of money, of abundance, you need to clear your vessel, clear your mind, clear your house, let go of what is not a priority for you, then figure out what it is that is a priority, that feeling, that emotion that you're trying to get to as the end game. Find small ways to bring that into your life every single day. And then you want to cultivate that, right? So you want to, yes, buy the bag, spend the money, but don't stop there. Then you have to continue to do the work of clearing, of budgeting, of prioritizing, of having gratitude, of having that conversation with your guide, show me how to get more. And if we can continue doing this, not in big, massive ways, but in teeny tiny ways, day after day, like you were saying with the woman who won the lottery, she was consistent in showing up. That is going to bring you way more abundance than doing one thing here and there. It's just
Mm.
setting up the practice of being open to receiving and able to hold the vibration of abundance.
Love that. Gosh, this was a beautiful conversation with you. I so enjoyed it. And I feel like I could just keep going, but I do value your time as well. And I know, what time is it for you in
It would
Canada?
be about 8:30 at night.
Okay, we have 10:30 in the morning here. Fantastic. Well, on that note, Melanie, how can my listeners who are intrigued with your work and want more of your vibes find you?
So the two best ways to find me is at my website, melaniehuestis.com, or on Instagram at melaniehuestis. It's a rare name. I'm easy to find.
Beautiful. On that note, thank you so much, Melanie, for this lovely conversation, this chat, for expanding our minds and shifting things. I feel like things have shifted for me, and I hope that also for my listeners. And have a beautiful evening. And thank you, everyone listening. I will be in your ears next week.